Picture this. It's Friday night, and you're craving your favorite burger from that cozy diner down the street, the one where the staff knows your name, and the fries are always perfectly crispy. But when you glance at the menu prices online, your heart sinks. $18 for a burger that used to cost $12 just a year ago? You're not alone in this moment of sticker shock, my friends, because across the United States, millions of Americans are staring at their budgets, shaking their heads, and making the tough call to skip the restaurant and cook at home instead, a seismic shift in our daily lives that's signaling something much bigger than a pricier meal. Inflation is creeping back with a vengeance, hitting us where it hurts most: our wallets, our kitchens, and our cherished traditions of dining out. And if that wasn't bad enough, the job market is wobbling like a house of cards in a windstorm, leaving families anxious, cautious, and cutting back on the little joys that make life feel normal. Welcome to the new reality of 2025, where the rising cost of everything is colliding with growing fears about job security, and it's changing the way we eat, spend, and live in ways we can't ignore. Let me take you back to a moment I had last week, because I think it captures what so many of us are feeling right now. I was driving past my favorite local taco joint, the kind of place where the salsa is homemade and the vibe is always warm and welcoming, and I noticed something strange. The parking lot, usually packed to the brim on a Thursday evening, was practically empty, with just a couple of cars sitting lonely under the neon sign. Curious, I popped in to grab a quick bite and chat with Maria, the owner, who's been running the place for over a decade. Her face told the story before she even opened her mouth. Sales were down, way down, and she was worried about how long she could keep her staff employed if things didn't pick up soon. "People just aren't coming in like they used to," she told me, her voice heavy with a mix of frustration and resignation. "They're cooking at home, or they're sticking to fast food deals because everything else feels like a luxury now." That conversation stuck with me, because it's not just Maria's taco shop. It's happening everywhere, from the bustling diners in New York to the beachside cafes in California, and it's a sign that something is deeply wrong with the economic picture in America today. Let's dive into the numbers, because they paint a stark picture of what's unfolding. The latest official data shows that core consumer prices, which strip out the volatile swings of food and energy, jumped by 0.3% in a single month, the biggest monthly spike since the start of the year. That might sound like a small number, but when you realize it's happening across the board, from furniture to kids' toys to everyday essentials, it starts to feel like a slow-motion punch to the gut. A big driver of this? Tariffs. Those higher import duties on goods like recreational gear and home furnishings are finally trickling down to us, the consumers, after retailers held off as long as they could, hoping to shield us from the pain. But now, with inventories running low, stores are restocking at higher costs, and guess who's footing the bill? You and me. That new couch you've been eyeing for your living room? Up in price. The Christmas gifts you're already dreading shopping for because, let's face it, the holidays are sneaking up fast? More expensive than last year. Even the little things, like a new pair of sneakers for your kid or a replacement for that worn-out spatula in your kitchen, are inching up, nibbling away at your budget with every trip to the store. Now, you might be thinking, wait, I thought gas prices were dropping. Shouldn't that help? And you're right, headline inflation, which includes everything, only rose by 0.2% thanks to cheaper gas. But that small relief at the pump is like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. It's not enough to offset the broader trend of price increases creeping into every corner of our lives, especially when it comes to food, the one thing we can't just skip. The food industry is getting hammered, and it's not just the grocery store aisles where you're feeling the pinch. Restaurants, the heart and soul of American social life, are taking a beating. Between January and March this year, Americans ate a staggering 1 billion fewer meals at restaurants compared to the same period last year. 1 billion. That's not a typo, and it's not a fluke. It's a screaming red flag that consumers are pulling back hard. We're skipping breakfast runs to the local diner, passing on drinks and appetizers at happy hour, and opting for cheaper meals when we do eat out, all because the cost of dining out is climbing faster than we can keep up. Even the biggest names in the industry are feeling the squeeze. Dine Brands, the parent company of IHOP and Applebee's, those familiar spots in every neighborhood where you've probably shared a stack of pancakes or a burger with friends, warned investors about slumping sales, and they're not alone. Wendy's, Denny's, even Chipotle, the darling of fast casual dining, are reporting fewer visits, especially from lower-income customers who are getting hit the hardest. McDonald's CEO put it bluntly, low-income diners dropped off by double digits between April and June. Think about that for a second. People aren't just cutting back on spending, they're straight up not showing up. For businesses that rely on steady foot traffic, from the big chains to the mom-and-pop shops like Maria's Taco Joint, this is a crisis. Small restaurants, the ones that give our communities their flavor and charm, are already talking about laying off staff to cut costs because when sales dry up, there's no other way to stay afloat. It's heartbreaking, and it's happening all over the country. Why is this happening? It's not just about the price tags, though those are bad enough. Inflation for food at home, groceries basically, rose by 2.4% over the past year, but food away from home, meaning restaurants, jumped by 3.8%. That gap is pushing people back into their kitchens, where a home-cooked meal suddenly looks a lot more appealing than a $20 plate of pasta. And sure, cooking at home can be a silver lining, more family dinners, maybe even healthier meals if you're whipping up something fresh, but let's not kid ourselves. This shift isn't just about rediscovering the joy of cooking, it's about survival. When you're worried about your job, when you're hearing whispers of layoffs at work or seeing now hiring signs disappear from storefronts, you start watching every dollar like a hawk. And that's where the bigger problem comes in. The job market is slipping, and it's making everyone nervous. The Federal Reserve has been walking a tightrope, keeping interest rates steady for most of 2025, hoping to ride out the storm of tariffs and inflation without tipping the economy into chaos. But while they're in this wait-and-see mode, the ground is shifting under their feet. Hiring is cooling across industries, across states, and it's not just a blip. Job growth is slowing, and that's got people on edge. When you're not sure if your next paycheck is guaranteed, you don't splurge on a Friday night dinner out, no matter how much you're craving those tacos. You start cutting corners, skipping a little treats, and rethinking every purchase, and that caution is rippling through the economy, hitting restaurants the hardest because dining out is one of the first things to go when money gets tight. This isn't just about numbers or data points, it's about confidence, or the lack of it. When Americans feel secure in their jobs, when they're optimistic about the future, they're more likely to grab lunch on the go, treat their family to a weekend brunch, or celebrate a birthday at their favorite restaurant. But when confidence wanes, even just a little, everything changes. That's what we're seeing now. Consumers are stressed, cautious, and counting every penny, not because they want to, but because they feel like they have to. Restaurant chains are sounding the alarm, not just because sales are soft, but because their customers are telling them they're worried about their jobs, about the economy, about where this is all headed. And let's be real, when the places we go to unwind, to connect, to make memories start feeling like a luxury we can't afford, that's a sign of trouble. So where does this leave us? Inflation is creeping back, fueled by tariffs and delayed price hikes that are finally hitting our wallets. The Federal Reserve is stuck, unsure whether to cut rates under political pressure or hold steady as the job market wobbles. And consumers? We're doing what we always do when times get tough, pulling back, rethinking, and trying to make ends meet. The one place where Americans were still spending freely, the food and beverage industry, is now slowing down, and that's a wake-up call. Will things turn around by the end of the year? Honestly, it's anyone's guess. It depends on whether jobs stabilize, whether inflation cools off, and whether we start feeling like we can breathe again without checking our bank accounts every 5 minutes. I want to hear from you. What's going on in your corner of the country? Are you seeing these price hikes at your local grocery store or restaurants? Are you eating out less, cooking more, or maybe even skipping meals altogether to save a buck? Drop a comment below and let me know where you're located so we can piece together what's happening across the US. If this breakdown hit home for you, give it a like, Subscribe for more updates, and come join me on Substack and Patreon where I dive deeper into these trends and what they mean for all of us. Thank you for being here, for sharing your stories, and for sticking with me as we navigate this wild economic ride together. Stay savvy, stay strong, and I'll catch you in the next one.